What's going on, Bucs fans? Back at it here again at the Pirate Parlay podcast. I'm your host, JC Allen, here on the Sick Podcast Network. As always, we got a great show for you tonight. We got a special guest in the building. I was at training camp today for first time in 3 years. Finally made it down. But we'll get into all of that. Training camp joint practices, Dolphins versus Buccaneers, who won, who shined, who wasn't great. We'll get into the game preview, and then we'll give our thoughts on the roster as well and kind of how things might shake out after this game. So stay tuned. We'll be right back, and I'll bring in our guest.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Pirate Parlay.
Battle intercepted, picked off in the end zone. Bucs are going to beat the Chiefs. We're the champions of the world.
The sickest Tampa Bay Buccaneers podcast. It's going to be sick.
What is going on? Back on the side here. Again, welcome to the Sick Podcast Network. This is Pirate Parlay. I'm your host, JC Allen. I see you guys in the comments. What's up to Slim? What's up to Richard? What's up to Joel? Definitely feel free to chime in. We'll get your comments going. We'll get them up on the board too, so we can react to what you guys are saying. What's up, Richard? And Mac, I see you there too. So we'll get that going. As always, if you guys are first tuning in, appreciate the love. Appreciate it. A lot of good stuff in the archives. Check those out. A lot of good stuff coming up. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, turning on the reminders, all that fun stuff. I want to get one of my sponsors out of the way. Then we'll bring in our special guest. So one of my sponsors here at Pirate Parlay is Homage. They do some great work with some great clothing options there. We've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in red with the throwback Bucko Bruce. We also have, the new style as well. We've got a hoodie right here. Super soft, super comfortable, great quality clothing. Definitely check them out. They've got the Angry Runs Baker shirt. They've got some of those you see in like the NBA Jam with the guys side by side with their stats on there. Super soft and amazing clothing. They specialize, as they say, in ultra comfy, high quality looks, repping sports, pop culture, more legendary moments. Learn more about Homage with a link down in the description. So definitely check them out. They've got some great stuff cooking up over there and some cool shirts you can wear around supporting your Buccaneers or whatever other team you root for, whether that's the Rays, the Lightning, or maybe, the Bruins. But that's not going to be much love here. But without further ado, let's bring in our guest. He writes for A to Z, my former colleague over at Bucs Report. He's up in Tennessee, made the trek down to Tampa Bay for the joint practice today. He's none other than Evan Winter. Evan, my man, it's great to see you today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I mean, I'm here. I'm talking to you. How could I be any better?
And you're in Tampa, bro. Yeah, you're out of Tennessee, so that's great.
Yeah, like you said, 3 years, but it's been a minute. But hey, like I said, just glad to be back, and hopefully, can make this more frequent, like I, did a few years ago.
It doesn't feel like 3 years. I feel like we were just at the bar getting drinks the other day.
Brass Tap, baby. There's another sponsorship right there.
Brass Tap, and we were at that dive bar place.
Oh yeah, God.
Primetime Sports.
There we go. Yeah,
I was talking about that the other day. We had one of those Irish beers that was actually really good. I forgot the name of it, but anyways, that's not why the people are here to listen to me reminisce, but they are here to learn a little bit more about Bucs and Dolphins joint practices. Let's get to your takeaways first here. I just want to what was the biggest thing that stood out to you when you watched the Bucs and Dolphins and joint practices today?
It's a good question. I definitely think Cameron Johnson is at the top of the list for sure, and he made some really good plays, but it was also really cool. And I know, obviously, we've seen him in practice and stuff like this before, but it was just really cool to see, the vision that Tampa Bay has for him, potentially on the 53 if he makes it, which at this point I do think he's trending that way. But regardless, the jet sweeps, the end arounds, even the catch over the middle, that a lot of people grab good footage of. He just displayed a lot of quickness, especially on that catch. I mean, his footwork at the line of scrimmage, he just absolutely burned the Dolphins cornerback, with that little outside juke and getting the inside leverage. So he looked really, really good. A matchup that I've talked to you about this for a little bit, but one of the big matchups that I was looking at coming in, and obviously depended on who practiced and who didn't, but unfortunately everybody did, but it was Graham Barton and, Cody Mauch and Ben Bredesen against Calais Campbell and Zach Seiler. And, obviously Calais and Zach opened up back-to-back plays, getting into the backfield, but then you saw Cody Mauch just absolutely wall him off on one rep. And then Luke Gedeke had his fair share of good reps too. And then Bredesen, I saw, even had some push. So Barton had a pretty solid day. It was a good test for him, but, overall, he had some rookie moments as well. Those two, I think, are what really stand out to me when we're talking about today's practice.
Yeah, Calais Campbell's going to get the best of a lot of people. So I don't think that's one rep, and I think there was a flag on that play too, and that sack would have been nullified. So, but neither here nor there. He's a problem. So, and he's going to face plenty of those problems this season. So, I mean, getting a look at him which is a different body structure than a guy like Vita Vea and Clyde Jacansey, dude's 6'8", like 3 something.
Yeah. It's nuts, man. Dude, he's probably the biggest dude in the NFL. And I just don't wonder, a guy that can move like that it's just it's incredible.
At that age too.
16 years in the league, man. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good. I think you're right. Cameron Johnson had a very productive day. I think the guy competing with him, directly, no Sterling Shepard, wasn't even spotted at practice. But Cody Thompson is another guy who had a good day. Nice 40-plus yard touchdown catch from Baker Mayfield in double coverage on the left side of the end zone. So, I think Friday's going to be a fun game to watch those two guys specifically, and not so much stat watching, but how do they hold up in the run game when they're asked to run block, or how do they do this, or who shows up on special teams. And I think that's going to be something that Cameron Johnson hasn't been able to show. He'll probably get some reps as a punt returner back there, maybe as a kick returner as well. But that'll be something that he'll be able to show and display on Friday as well. I thought the secondary had some ups and downs. I think it had some good moments and some bad moments. Obviously, Zion McCollum showing his playmaking ability, picking off Tua Tagovailoa on the first pass of the game. I think Tavier Thomas had some good pass breakups. Jamel Dean had some good ones too. But then they got, they got the best of them too. Braxton Berrios beating Antoine Winfield Jr. on a deep ball. There are, a couple tight ends. Jonas Smith, beat forget which linebacker it was, but then, Levante, out of all people, got beat by like a third string tight end, So there were some ups and downs. I thought for the most part, what impressed me was the offensive line, and, wasn't a ton of chunk yardage gained by either team, but there were some good shining moments for the Bucs there with Bucky Irving and Sean Tucker and Rashad White. But other than that, everyone's kind of wondering about the edge room, right? How's the edge room going to look? And of course, they were without a guy like Joe Tryon-Shrink and Yaya Diaby. But what were your takeaways from that? Whether it's during one-on-ones, whether you were watching the defense go up against the Dolphins offense, what did you see out of that room?
Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to watch the edge rushers too much today, but overall, from the glimpses that I did see, I didn't see a lot of pressure, honestly. I saw, a couple of good moves to where maybe if there's a counter involved afterward, then they're getting home, then they're, getting the play finished. But overall, I didn't see too much on the reps that I did watch. Now, granted, small sample size at the end of the day, but that's one thing, that they've got to figure out. And I know they like the room. They've been really adamant about that. They don't, and Yaya is becoming that guy. He still has to take that step to become that guy, though, right? So they don't. Right now, they don't have that guy in there. I think they have a solid rotation when you look at the top 4 guys. But still, there's questions, and they've got to get that figured out. And maybe they figured it out a little bit more on Friday night, but who knows what that'll look like in terms of context, because Mike McDaniel said earlier or after practice that he's going to, quote unquote, take it easy with the starters, whatever that means. Our guy who writes for Miami, Craig Smith, he actually has written for Bucs Report. He's a Bucs writer as well. He had a pretty funny joke. Is anybody with a cracked fingernail right now, you might as well probably go ahead and rule out for Friday night. So it'll be interesting to see, what the competition level is, but we definitely need to see a little bit more of a spark. I mean, hey, another 3-sack performance by Jose Ramirez. Let's do it. Let's get it.
All right. Yeah, I think Vita looked good. Obviously in his one-on-ones. Chris Braswell showed a little bit of things as well at times. But yeah, they kind of struggled. I was watching one-on-ones for a minute. I didn't see anybody get back there besides Vita. When I watched, I saw some good pressure by Logan Hall, good pressures by Chris Braswell, but I didn't see anyone kind of get to the quarterback. So something to monitor. I know that edge room has been a huge point of contention for Bucs fans. Obviously, the Falcons go out and get Matt Judon, which I was not for that signing for the Bucs, or if they were going to make that move. I think, 32-year-old coming off an injury, limited to like 4 games last year, wants a new contract potentially at some point. I just don't think that meshes well with what the Bucs are doing. And again, look at the 3rd round pick. You know, I don't think you look at this Bucs team and say they're a Matt Judon away from a Super Bowl. If it were Brian Burns or you know, Josh Hines Allen or someone like that, then I'm like, yeah, okay, give up. Now we're talking. But I don't think it was a smart move, and obviously they didn't either because they didn't make it. You know, especially when you look how valuable those 3rd round picks have been. You got 2 starters out of it this year. You got a starter out of it last year. You got a starter out of it the year before, Rashad White. So I mean, you kind of look at what Robert Hainsey was a starter 2 years for them. So those 3rd round picks are valuable, and to give it up for an aging veteran that you don't really kind of know what's going to look like. You don't know what he's going to look like in your system. I thought that was a good move. And Hassan Reddick's probably not happening. I would put the chance of 5%. That's only if the edge guys just crap the bed.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust Hassan Reddick with a 100-foot pole, just in terms of how that whole situation has unfolded. I mean, I just don't know where his head's at right now, because apparently when he signed on, he agreed to – I can't remember exactly how our Jets guy phrased it, but he basically agreed that he would help work with the Jets on his contract, you know, give him a deal. But then they traded John Franklin Myers or whichever defensive lineman they traded, and all of a sudden that changed things for him because now he's like the guy. I don't know. Either way, and then I'm right there with you on Judon. You know, I don't even know if the Bucs make that move in 2020 or 2021, even 2022. I don't even know if they make it then. So maybe they do, but I think they were more on the getting Tom some weapons at the end of the day. Those were the moves they were making, obviously. So yeah, but I'm with you 100% on Judon, man. You just leave that one alone too.
Right, yeah, simulated pressure. I think you give the young guys some time to develop. I think Anthony Nelson's steady. And again, we didn't see JTS and we didn't see Yaya out there. Mine probably would have been a different story if those guys were out there, but obviously they're both dealing with something. So you're not gonna put them at risk. So
well, and real quick, and no pun intended, but you know, the Dolphins' passing game is quick. It's a fast passing attack. So you know, a lot of times that's gonna negate your pass rush on the edges. So. Yeah.
It's the league now, though. You look at it, you know, everyone's getting the ball out in 2 seconds or less, or trying to at least. You know, I was talking to Shaq. He was on the show last year, and I was talking about the lack of sack numbers for him, but the pressures were still there. He's like, yeah, we're getting pressure, but by the time we get back to the ball's gone. It's like everyone's getting the ball out quick, especially in a Bulls defense where they know they know the heat's coming at any play. So these quarterbacks know they can't hold on to the ball, or else they're going to go down eventually. So it's one of those things where, you know, I tend to look, obviously sacks are great, but I tend to look at the pressures in a Bulls defense, and the result of those pressures a lot of the time lead to throwaways and miscommunication, misplays, overthrows, underthrows. And I think that's the way that, you know, obviously you want to get sacks, but pressures affect the game too. So as long as those guys can get pressure, I'm not worried about the sack numbers. I don't need Yaya Diaby to be a 10 double-digit sack guy. JTS to be a double-digit sack guy. Give me 7, 8 sacks, but get your pressures up around 35, 40, and keep that consistent. And I think you're on the right track there. But you guys feel free to drop in the comments whatever you're thinking, any questions you have. Richard commented that Bredesen named the starter at left guard. It was kind of known as soon as Sewell went down. He's the only one that's been taking reps there. Hainsey will start to get some reps at guard, not to challenge him, but just to kind of get cross-trained a little bit there. He hasn't really taken any guard snaps besides the first day of training camp in 2022. That was it. And then for obvious reasons, he moved over to center real quick when Jensen went down. But yeah, I don't think that they, they're looking to move Haynes. He's just not big enough, man. No. He doesn't have the anchor. He doesn't have the play strength. He was good at center because he was so smart and cerebral. And like he could set things up to pass guys up, but then again, man, he gets bull rushed, you know.
Yeah, watching him on the sled today at times was kind of rough. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, he was having some issues.
Richard says Atlanta wouldn't have to trade for pass rush if they just drafted Dallas Turner instead of Penix Jr.
That's a good point.
It's true. That is true. I want to kind of switch gears now from practice to the game. So obviously, we know it's going to be very vanilla. Starter's going to play for XYZ. Who knows? You know, any guy who's banged up is not going to play unless you're a bottom of the roster guy and you're playing through that, trying to make the team. But kind of, what are your expectations for Friday's game? What are you looking to get out of it? As first of all, as a fan of the Bucs, but then taking your fan hat off and putting your reporting hat on, your writer hat on, your analyst hat on rather. and kind of breaking it down that way. So give me both perspectives here.
Yeah, let's start with the fan because that's the fun one, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, I want to see Baker and Mike and Chris. I want to see them light it up some. I want to see them move the ball down the field. I want to see good pass protection. Even Graham talked today about how he needs to improve in pass pro. That he's always known for his run game or run blocking, but that's where he wants to improve. I want to see Luke. I want to see Cody take those steps forward. Obviously, we know what Tristan is, and I want to see some continuity out of Ben Bredesen as well. But yeah, I want to see the offense move the ball. I want to see the defense, like we just talked about, the edges get some sacks. I would even love to see Kalijah get back there, coming back from the injury, knocking off that rust, and just getting that nice little bit of confidence. He was asked today about, this is his first training camp because he was hurt pretty much all last training camp.
Right.
So I would like to see him end on a strong note. That way we know he's really good to go heading into the season. And then on special teams, I really want to see a nice, decent return. The special teams return unit has just been a slog the last few years. Now, obviously, the new changes.
Longer than that.
yeah, pretty much the entire franchise. Yeah, go Michael Spurlock, right? I would love to see just something happen on the kick return unit because Bowles himself has talked about it, throughout the offseason about how it's just they're not going to know until they know, right? So it would be cool to see something in there. And then last but not least, I want to see Cameron Johnson. I want this kid to win a roster spot. I mean, he's Barton College. I mean, come on, man. It's just that would be such a great story. So in terms of fan stuff, that's what I want to see. In terms of analysis, I want to see moving the ball on third down. I want to see competence on key downs like that. I want to see them get into the end zone when they get into the red zone. I don't want to see them settling for field goals.
Right.
I feel like that needs to really be improved this year, and especially with what they want to do on offense, that's going to be absolutely key in terms of setting up those manageable third downs, converting them, and then turning 6. Not settling for 3. And then on defense, man, I guess I want to see some front 7 pressure, that coincides with the fan stuff. And then in terms of the cornerbacks, I would like to see Zion. And again, this is all predicated on who's playing. But if Zion's out there, which he will, I'm sure he will be. Todd Bowles said he's playing the starters. I want to see him make some plays. I want to see Jamel, if he gets in position to catch the interception. And then I would love to see, I know Jordan Whitehead's probably not going to play. But I would just love to see some good play on the back end too, whether it's Kayvon Merriweather, Tavier Thomas, if they throw Tyke back there, I want to see some action.
Right. Yeah, I think all those things are kind of things that I'm looking forward to seeing too. Let's see what, again, very vanilla, but let's see what the offense looks like when the guys are in there, when Tristan's out there, when Luke's out there. We've seen them get solid push with some of the backups going against backups, but if the Dolphins do play some of their starters, obviously no Jalen Phillips, obviously no Bradley Chubb. So you're looking at guys like Mohamed Kamara and Chop Robertson, who had a good rep on Tristan today, beat him. But Tristan didn't take that long. He came right back.
And real quick, he actually made some pretty decent noise against the Commanders last week when they played too. So.
And there's a good comment from one of the writers down in Miami that, Tristan said he's going to be a problem or something like that. He's going to be a really good player. And he was like, that's coming from him is he's one of the best players. So it was, I know I wasn't a big fan of Chop Robinson, but hey, it's something to kind of look at there. But I think how do these guys do, right? How does Chris and Mike do? How does a run game look? Does Rashad get the 4, 5, 6 yard carries that Sean Tucker and Bucky Irving have been getting? All those things I kind of want to see how it translates with the offense with the starting offense on the field. And same thing with the starting defense, right? Week 1 shut Cincy's running game to 37 yards. Week 2 almost quadrupled that with 130 something yards. So does that make a difference? Can the front 7 get pressure? Depending on who's playing, if Vita's out there and Kalijah's out there and Levante's out there, how does that kind of change the way things are done? And who shows up? Who shows up for the rookies? Tyke Smith pretty much got the job won. Jalen Miller pretty much got the job won, but are they sound in their assignments? Are they doing the right things? Those things I'm looking for too. I think on special teams, it's snap count.
Yeah.
It's going to be who's out there for field goal. I mean, for a kickoff and kick return. So that's going to tell you if starters are playing, usually when you have your starting units, that includes your special teams units,
Mhm.
at least for the first, kickoff and kick return. So what's that look like? How many bigger bodies are on there? Kind of gives me a sense of, are they going to keep 5 linebackers? Are they going to keep 6 outside linebackers, 4 tight ends? Kind of how does that all shake down, and kind of how do things fall out from there? So those things I'm going to be looking at. Obviously, McLaughlin, as Bud Cannabis says, I would like to see field goals made. You want to see him bounce back after missing 2. The heavily contested long snapper battle there, counting snaps right there between Evan Deckers and Zach Triner. I think that's going to be a fun one to watch, a little under the radar one.
Just real quick, not to cut you off, but especially if Deckers wins the job, that's big because Triner's been here since 2019. He's a staple on that unit, so that would be big.
And then the young guys, like the guys who are vying for those final spots, the Cody Thompson, who's not necessarily a young guy, but the Cameron Johnsons, the Keep Earth Cult battle, the CJ Brewer and Ernest Brown. What do those guys do? I'm naming position battles that are coming down the last couple spots, so keep an eye out on those guys when you guys are watching out in the comments land. Guys like Tavier Thomas, Rashad Wisdom, Marcus Banks, Keenan Isaac. Obviously, Tyreek Funderburk's not going to play, unfortunately, has had a great camp. But if one of those guys falters, maybe that opens up a doorway for him. That linebacker spot, I think J.J. Russell's got number 4, but if they're going to keep 5, Vi Jones has looked pretty good. Kalen DeLoach is the name because of FSU and everything that he's done, and we're in Florida, obviously. So, I mean, those are the ones that I'm kind of looking forward to. I don't know if Haggard's playing. I didn't see him practicing. I forgot to even look for him practicing today, so that's on me. But Haggard and Walton, I think that might, if it could kind of look at those two, because Haggard can play tackle and guard. Walton can play tackle and guard. Walton has struggled at right tackle. He played all right at left tackle to open the game. But more of an interior guy. Is there maybe, okay, this guy's younger. Let's see if we can develop him. But is he a guy you could probably get on the practice squad too? I think so. So those are going to be the interesting things, and kind of seeing how all that progresses going forward.
Yeah, they actually had Haggard at right tackle today. I saw for him a few snaps.
Okay,
and I thought that was interesting because Justin Skule, didn't practice, obviously, and we don't know what his status is for Friday either. So the fact that they had him in there at tackle, I thought that was pretty interesting because, obviously he can play both positions, guard and tackle. But I just thought that was really interesting that he was their first choice to play, right tackle over on that spot. So definitely see what happens with him. And yeah, he's had a pretty good camp. Good to see him, recover from that little little nick up that he had. We'll see what happens. But yeah, they had him out there today. I happened to catch that. I actually wrote it down in my notes because I was like, oh wow, that's pretty interesting.
Perfect. Let's see. Richard asked, what is considered a good win percentage for pass rushers? I would think
right around that 30% mark.
30% is good. Yeah. I mean, anything you're talking about, like premier guys who are getting like, towards the 40s and 50s, but right around 30. If you're winning your snaps and your pressure snaps, not every snap is a pressure snap. Even for edge rushers, if you're winning about 33%, I think you're in a good, area there. What are you guys looking forward to? What battles are you looking forward to watching? Drop them in the comments. We'll bring them up. We'll talk about them. Feel free to shout them out there. Again, just want to remind everyone, like, subscribe, turn the notifications on. You're here with JC Allen and Evan Winter from A to Z Sports. Check out all the stuff he's doing. Those A to Z is growing tremendously. You guys, every time I look, you're congratulating someone for joining the team. So it's been fun to watch that grow, and you be at the helm of it. But switching over to kind of rounding, let's get to Slim Stinks question real quick. Can Elijah Klein earn the starting left guard by the end of the season? I'll let you take that first because I have my own thoughts on that.
I mean, yeah, I think he can. The kid's been playing pretty well, but they've been playing him at right guard a lot, haven't they? Or am I off on that?
He's been playing both left guard, right guard. Played right tackle on Friday.
See, I missed those snaps. Okay, yeah. So then, I definitely think he could by the end of the year. Ben. I mean, we actually talked about Ben Bredesen a little bit earlier today, and we just don't know about him. He's unknown. Obviously, Klein's a rookie, 6th rounder at that, so he's unknown too. But kind of has not trying to do wordplay here, but it's got kind of a Matt Feeler feel. at the end of the day, in terms of just an unknown product, but he's been around the league, so maybe it might work out. I don't know. The Cardinals just signed or just extended Froholt today, who bounced around the league for 4 years and finally found a home. So that kind of thing can happen. You can find a guy who bounces around and becomes the guy for you. But yeah, I definitely think Klein could end up being a starter at the end of the year.
Yeah, well, I think right now Bredesen's the weak point on the line.
Yeah.
But I also think that where he was last year with the Giants wasn't just a cluster. I mean, They had him playing center. They had him starting at guard, at left guard. So he's got experience at multiple spots on the line. I think bringing him in here, he's got a little bit more athleticism than a guy like Filer did. I think he's got similar strength. I think Suopeta was a stronger guy in run, but I think Bredesen will probably do better in pass blocking. But I mean, you're not good. This isn't 2020, where you have potential Pro Bowlers on all across the line. You're going to have some guys who aren't going to be the greatest. And I think Bredesen is the weak link, but I think he's good enough to make it through the whole season. The only way I see Elijah Klein taking over his spot is if there's an injury, a la kind of last year. Filer, goes down with an injury, Stinney comes in. But I don't even know if Elijah Klein's first one off the bench. I mean, he's shown a lot so far through the first 2 games, but I think it's still probably like a Brandon Walton, who's the first guy off the bench, someone who's experienced and kind of has chemistry and familiarity with the guys on the line. We'll see how that all plays out, but I do think if Klein can slowly behind the scenes continue to progress and show them things, he's going to get what he does is he allows you to get a cheap veteran in free agency, maybe spend a draft pick on a 5th rounder or 4th rounder, somewhere in that area to compete with him, because you're not just going to give him it, but you're not spending a high resource. Like, coming into before I saw him coming into next year, I'm like, oh, they'll probably spend a 2nd or 3rd round pick on left guard and kind of complete their line that way. But after seeing him play and seeing him at practice, I'm like, well, maybe, if he continues to develop, maybe it's not that high. Maybe they bring in someone to compete and feel good about it. Have a veteran there just in case.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And, it's funny to think, too, because Jason Light, he hasn't, outside of Ryan Jensen, and maybe there's just somebody I'm just egregiously missing, but he doesn't sign a lot of free agent offensive linemen that, turn out to be what his draft picks turn out to be.
Right.
And that's not saying Bredesen's just going to suck or anything like that, but it's just an interesting dynamic how, he just kills these draft picks, but then the free agents, again, outside of Ryan Jensen, you're kind of like, but yeah, still, it's going to be interesting to see, man. And you're absolutely right with the Giants offense. That was just an absolute tragedy last year. I mean, could think of plenty of other words for it, but I'm going to stick with that one for right now. Yeah, who knows? A new change of scenery can always help. I mean, look at Baker Mayfield.
All right, so before we're going to get into, we're just going to go position by position, kind of give our thoughts on where they're going to go, who's going to make the roster, because by the time we're back next week, we'll have a 53-man roster. Not a stable one. There's still going to be movement. Jason's going to churn the bottom of that roster. There'll probably be some wink-nod agreements between some guys getting cut, so some guys don't get exposed to waivers at the same time. And we'll probably start see cuts happening on Saturday. I would imagine, Cooley, the new punter, and Brandon Matterson, the guy they signed yesterday, Monday, probably 2 of the first names to go, and then we'll start to see them start to trickle in Saturday, Sunday. They have a meeting on Monday. And then Tuesday is the day roster's going to be at 53. So we'll start to see some names trickle in, probably starting Saturday. But I want to give a shout out to one of our other sponsors here, Tampa Bay Buccaneers Cruise, guys. This is an amazing experience for you guys to check out. If you haven't already got your tickets, go secure them now. They had payment plan options up until December, so you can put a down payment on and make payment plans as you go. But guys, this is amazing. You've heard me talk about it. If you haven't, listen up, because this is such a cool experience that you get to go on a cruise ship that's Buccaneers themed for the most part, with amazing parties and things that they plan. They got the sail away party. They got trivia contests, bingo, cocktail parties where you're getting one-on-one time with your favorite players. Last year, they had 14 players on board, including Warren Sapp, Rashad White, Yaya Diaby. This year, they're having even a bigger event. It's going to be, they got Brad Johnson, Trey Palmer, Jordan Whitehead. Luke Gedeke was just announced as coming back. Yaya Diaby, Graham Barton. think there might be a certain left tackle making an appearance. He couldn't make it last year because he was having a baby, but I think he might be coming back on it this year. Zion McCollum, I think, might be a guy who's coming on too. So there's going to be so many different players, and this is just the start of it. There'll be more and more announced as we lead up to it. But it's such a great time. They got the awesome water volleyball game between the players, player panels where they're kind of just, it's really cool to hear some of the stories. Gene Deckerhoff and sitting down with Warren Sapp and talking about some of the stories that you're not going to hear anywhere else but on this cruise. It was so much fun. The parties, theme nights, the food is amazing. The got a casino. I lost a lot of money playing craps or roulette. No, craps with Jamel Dean, trying to keep up with him. Don't do that because he is a millionaire and I am not. So don't make that mistake. They had a great, if you're into old fashions, create your old fashioned bar. The food was phenomenal, not just the buffets in the restaurant included, but all the extra restaurants as well. So don't miss this awesome opportunity to celebrate your team with your favorite players, creating lasting memories and also create memories and relationships with fans all over the country. So definitely check that out. But let's get into it now. Let's break down. Oh, you can find it Tampa Bay Buccaneers cruise.com, or it should be in the description. Go check it. Reserve your seats now, your cabins now, because they're going fast. So let's get into it position by position. We've got about 15 minutes to get through this, so I think we should be pretty good. But quarterback 2, 3, what do you got them?
I see him with 2. We don't even know if John Wolford's going to play Friday night. Now, granted, he does play and he has a hell of a game, and Kyle Trask doesn't have a hell of a game, or doesn't have a good game, rather. I could definitely see him taking Trask's spot, but right now I've got 2.
Okay, I am with you right there. I think it's going to be 2. I think we're probably looking at Trask and then maybe Wolford goes on the practice squad or something like that. I just, Wolford banged up, hurt his ribs. He returned to practice Monday. I didn't see him practicing today. So maybe, they're kind of, and I don't think, again, this is a guy who turned down the opportunity to go potentially start for the Rams last year when they were down a quarterback. And again, he's made it very clear he wants to be in Tampa. So I think put him on the practice squad. If you got to bring him back up like you did last year, you do it. But I'm right there with you with 2. All right, running back. Where are you at with this one? This is a tricky one because Chase Edmonds has been sidelined for a while. But when you see him healthy, you see the bursts and the flashes. But again, can't make the club from the tub. Availability is the best ability.
Dude, the club from the tub, I've actually never heard that before. It's the first time I've heard that, and I'm definitely going to be
really.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever heard that.
So old, bro.
I know. It sounds like an old one, but God, I've never heard that. But either way, I think it's 3 on this one, and the reason why, obviously, the Edmonds injury, I think you can get him on the practice squad. But with Rachaad White, Bucky Irving, and Sean Tucker all being backs that can catch, obviously you got to pass protect, and that's probably what gets Edmonds on this roster if he does make the roster, plus veteran status. But I'm going to go with 3 because all 3 can do it all.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think Chase either goes on the practice squad, maybe on IR to start the season.
Yeah.
They make a move there. This is a contested one. Wide receiver, we're going to say Mike, Chris, Jalen. We're going to say Trey Palmer's there. If you want to throw a rock on there as a lock, I think I have him as a lock, and really it's coming down to that 6 spot. But if you have another opinion, let me know. What are you thinking, 5, 6?
No, yeah, I got Rakeem right there with you at wide receiver 5. I think they're going to carry 7. I think they're going to put Cameron Johnson and Cody Thompson on there. I really do. I mean, both guys. I think you could probably get one of them on the practice squad, especially Cameron Johnson, because he's been hurt and he just doesn't have a lot of game tape out there. I'm going.
No one's getting tape from all 22 from Barton College.
yeah, just hit them up, right, dude. Getting college tape, man, you might as well be trying to figure out the secret to life. Sometimes you have a better shot at doing that. But yeah, I've got 7 receivers, man, which feels like so many, but maybe the kick return comes into play. I don't know, but it just feels like 7. It just does.
Right now I've got 6, and I've got the guys we talked about, but I've got Cody Thompson making it over Cam Johnson. I like what I've seen from Cam, but I think you can get Cam on the practice squad. I think Cam, Ryan Miller, I think those guys probably bounce to the practice squad. Tanner Canu's shown some stuff, but I think if Cam is healthy and can do some punt return stuff, hopefully we get to see that tomorrow or Friday rather. And I think, it kind of pushes one or the other off the roster. And then the biggest question And Bud Cannabis brings it up, down here. Cody and Cam have a real good chance of taking Shepard's spot. I don't think it was ever Shepard's spot, to be honest with you. Because when I signed him, I think it was just for a veteran mentor to some of these younger guys in camp. And, Cody Thompson is a guy, they signed at the same time, and everyone's like, oh, Cody Thompson, we got to sell Shepard, And Cody Thompson's played really well. Not just the stats that he piled up last week, but he's played well in the blocking game. He scored a touchdown and was back out on special teams. He's a guy, 6 year, I think he's 5 or 6 year vet, bounced around, but he's played good special teams when he's had opportunities. And that's what you need out of a 6 wide receiver. And guess what? Sterling Shepard's not giving you special team snaps. No. He's not,
He's been hurt. So, he's been hurt. His biggest thing as of late has been health too. And he's been hurt. So.
Right. And I think too, okay, so with the new kickoff rule, maybe you're not having as many wide receivers go down for kickoff, and maybe don't need as much speed because you're only 5-10 yards apart. So maybe you can use a guy like Raheem Jarrett and Trey Palmer or Jalen McMillan, or use extra cornerbacks there, and maybe you can just rely on Shepard to be the sixth guy who doesn't really play special teams, but he hasn't played. And I don't think Shepard's the type of guy who, remember, the only thing really pulled him out of retirement was Baker calling him up. I can see him just hanging up the cleats. I don't think he's going to go another team. I don't know if another team is going to be interested. I think I don't see him taking that Dave Moore role and going in the practice squad. So we'll see. It'll be interesting. I wanted to talk to him about that today. Would he accept kind of a practice squad role? But of course he wasn't out there. So we'll see if we can get him on Friday. But moving to tight end, what do you got there? They've got K-Dot, and I think K-Dot and Payne Durham are the locks. They're obviously not going to move off Payne Durham. But then you've got guys like Devin Culp, their 7th round pick this year, holdover Keith, David Wells, who started as the number 2 tight end last year before being on the practice squad. And then they've got Tanner Towla and Sal Cannella. Tanner obviously just came back Monday, but was doing some really good things. What do you got here? 3, 4, and who's making it?
Yeah, I got all chalk on this one. 4 tight ends, and I got Otten, Durham, Culp, and who am I leaving out here? Keith. And I think the reason why they keep Ko is mostly because they know how to use him, right? They know his strengths, and he's a really good special teams player too. So, but yeah, I'm going all chalk on that one and taking those 4.
So I thought we were going to differ here because I'm also keeping 4 tight ends. And it's something that when I put my first 53-man roster out, I did not. I had Culp winning. But I definitely think if it does come down to the just 3, I think Culp probably gets it over Ko. Just because, Liam's talked about having a move tight end on the roster. You don't really have that. You've got 2 traditional Y guys, but you don't have that move guy. And I think Devin Culp has shown enough to earn a spot on the team. So offensive line, we've got our starters. I don't need to go through them, or maybe I do. We'll just do it. Werfs, Bredesen, Barton, Moak, and we also have Gedeke. We got Hainsey as the backup center. We've got Schooley as the backup swing tackle. The guys I'm kind of looking at for the final spot right here, or final 2 spots, is Elijah Klein, Brandon Walton, Luke Haggard. The rest of it, just not good. You're not Avery Jones. Lorenz Metz has been a turnstile. Maybe he makes the practice squad because you can keep him on there and have an additional guy because of the international rule. So maybe he sticks around and they try to refine some technique with him. But and again, Xavier Delgado hasn't looked good too. So who do you got making it out of those 2? Or do you have him keeping 10 and keeping all 3 of them?
Yeah, no, I've got him. I see him. I kind of, and I know not every team is going to go by this, but I've got my own little personal rule. I always take 9 offensive linemen because you've got the 8 offensive lineman rule where you can carry 2 extra guys on game day. And if you only carry 8 and somebody gets hurt, well, now you've got to sign somebody or call somebody up. It feels a little repetitive, a little redundant. So, yeah, I'm keeping 9. Obviously, the top 8 seems set with the 5 starters, then Klein, Hainsey, and School. And then, I'm going to take Brandon Walton just because of his inside-outside versatility. He has played okay whenever he's had to come in during the regular season. Obviously, he's got his gaps. But, those are the 9 that I'm taking in with that one.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm going to slide Luke Haggard on the practice squad. I'm going to take advantage of that rule, put Lorenz Metz there. And I might sign Xavier Delgado as well. To the practice squad, keep 3 offensive linemen on there. Part of me earlier in camp wanted to keep Avery Jones to have a developmental center because Hainsey and Bredesen are likely gone, and that gives you a backup who kind of knows that you can groom. But he's just looked too bad. He's not making the team in any way, shape, or form. All right, let's jump to the defensive side of the board. We have the defensive line here. We've got our starters, Kalijah Cansey, Vita Vea, Logan Hall, Greg Gaines, I think are the 4 locks. Yes, 4 locks. I did not include Will Golston in that. I think they keep 6. Will Golston is right there in the mix. Mike Green made it last year. CJ Brewer and Ernest Brown have done some things to get the notice of Todd Bowles. He mentioned both of them individually the other day when talking about that defensive line battle. Judge Culpepper, legacy player, has kind of disappeared for me. Haven't seen him. Lal Uguak is a name that people are talking about because he had a good play the other day, good tackle, then followed up a couple plays later with a nice sack. But again, I don't know if that's enough to crack the 53, and Brandon Matterson is cut on Saturday. So where are you going there? Are you keeping 5? You keeping 6? You're heavy on the wide receiver position and tight end. So you have to cut from somewhere. Is it the defensive line?
Yeah, this is actually when I was putting my 53-man projection together a couple days ago. This was actually where I first really started to had to really sit down and think. And the receivers, like I said, that was obviously a little tough, but the numbers there are what make it happen. Man, I'm with you. I don't think Will Golston's a lock on this at all. And Mike Green did flash last year at times.
Disappeared.
Yeah, and then you've got CJ Brewer and I almost said Ernest Graham and Ernest Brown. but it's tough, man. I'm going to go 5, and I'm keeping Green over Golston.
Okay. I'm still working it out right now. I think I have them keeping 6. I think that Golston makes it, and I think CJ Brewer makes it. But that's really close. Like flip a coin, Brewer or Brown for me. I don't think Green's shown enough. I think he goes to the practice squad. I think a guy like Luol Uguak maybe goes to the practice squad too. One of those things. But it's also one of that I haven't really narrowed it down because I think they can keep 5 and keep 1 or 2 on the practice squad and have that resource to pull them up too. It depends on where they want to keep more players at what other spots. So speaking, one of those spots is outside linebacker. Yaya is making the team. JTS is making the team. Chris Braswell's making the team. Anthony Nelson's making the team. What it comes down to are the last 1 or 2 spots. Grzelyak hasn't shown much. Sean Peterson Jr. has been injured. Jay Person came in, end of the game against the Bengals, but otherwise than that, hasn't done enough, I think, to supplant one of Marquise Watts or Jose Ramirez if you're keeping 5. If you're keeping 6, both of those guys are on the roster. What are you doing?
Randy Gregg? No, I'm joking.
Sign him. It's going to cost you $0 now.
The cheapest signing in history, right? Well, real quick, going back to the defensive line, another reason why I think 5 is because, the Bucs are going to run a lot of nickel, and in their nickels, they usually have 2 down defensive linemen, so that might help save you some snaps there. But yeah, when it comes to the outside linebackers, man, I think this room is pretty much chiseled out. I'm going chalk, except for I am going to take 6. I am going to throw Marquise Watts in there. I do think at the end of the day, I think he makes it. Obviously, Jose. The only reason Jose didn't make it last year is because he got hurt and it kind of slowed him down. So, well, not the only reason, but a big reason. Right. So yeah, I'm taking those 6.
I'm there with you. I'm keeping all 6 of them. I think you can use them on kickoff and kick return. Yep. I'm not exposing either one of them to the waiver, especially not Jose after his big game. Remember, he was a guy who came out and was raw to begin with and needed some time. And I think you listen to Gedeke and Wirfs talk about him last year. Just gave them fits in practice. So keeping 6. Linebacker, we got KJ Britt, Levante David, Servassier Dennis, all locks to me. The next 4 really, because Antonio Greer has made some plays, but you've got JJ Russell, who's back to preseason form, Kalen DeLoach, the FSU product, V Jones, who was with the team last year in the practice squad. Do they keep 4? Do they keep 5? What are your thoughts here? Who's the 4th guy, and is there a potential 5th?
Yeah, this is a tough one too. I'm going to roll with 4. JJ Russell is going to be that 4th. I do think you can get DeLoach on the practice squad, but at the same time, going back to the kickoff return thing, Kalen DeLoach is a monster. He can fly. He can get down the field. So that could get him in at the end of the day. But I'm going to go 4.
I see. I've got them keeping 5 with DeLoach making the team. I think B Jones did some stuff, but maybe slide him on the practice squad. They started the year with 4. They ended up with 5 because of special teams needs, and that's what I'm going to do because I'm keeping 2 quarterbacks. I can afford to have a 5th inside linebacker. Although I'm still, again, like this is the spot where I'm at. 5 or 6 DTs, 4 or 5 inside linebackers. And the next position we'll talk about is heavily loaded with some young guys who you probably want to get on the roster. So we got Jamel Dean, Zion McCollum, Bryce Hall, I think are the locks here. I think the guys competing for a spot, and I'm counting Christian Izzy, Tyke Smith, and Tavier Thomas as safeties / nickelbacks in their own area. So we've got Keenan Isaac, Tyreek Funderburk, and Josh Hayes, Chris McDonald, Andrew Hayes. See you later. Thanks for trying out. I think 2 of the guys end up on the practice squad probably, but which one's making the active roster? Or are you keeping 5 cornerbacks on the active roster? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing 6 corners. Josh Hayes sticks. Don't ask me why. He does pretty decent special teams work. The coaching staff seems to like him. I think Funderburk's late injury is going to hold him off the roster. I think you can get him on the practice squad. And same thing with Keenan Isaac outside of the injury stuff. He's played well this summer too, but I think and it's tough too because you can throw Tyke Smith and Chris and Izzy back as safety like you're talking about.
Right. I'm talking about like outside guys. Those are
your my bad. Okay, so then I'm going 4 then Bryce Hall, Jamel Dean, Zion, and then Josh Hayes.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really tough to get Josh Hayes. He led the NFL in special teams tackles. So the only way I think Keenan or Tyreek make it is they try to keep 5 here and move someone else. But I think you can probably get both of those guys back on the practice squad. Safety, we got Antoine Winfield Jr., Jordan Whitehead locked in, Tyke Smith locked in. I like to say Kayvon Merriweather's locked in as well, but that's just me. So those are my 4. And then you've got Christian Izzy and Tavier Thomas, Marcus Banks, Rashad Wisdom. Are you keeping 5 here? Are you keeping 6 here with the 4? What are you doing here?
No, I'm sticking 4. All chalk. I do think Kayvon's in a good spot, so I'm going 4. And the Bucs typically don't carry more than 4 safeties anyway. So yeah, I'm going 4.
Okay, so who's off the roster here? Christian Izzy and Tavier Thomas are both gone?
Oh, my bad. Sorry, I'm completely misreading the.
I'm not doing nickel. I'm not doing nickel.
Okay, not throwing there. Okay, right, then we're gonna roll with 6 then with those 2 included.
Okay, so yeah, I think I'm right there with you. Dean, Hall, McCullum, Hayes are your outside cornerbacks. Winfield, Whitehead, Kayvon Merriweather are your true safeties, and then you got 3 guys, 3 deep at nickel with Tavier, Tyke, and Christian Izzy. Now, I think the thing with Tavier, I think the only thing is if they decide that they have enough depth in that nickel spot and they want to grab either Isaac or Funderburk, I think Tavier is probably last off in that scenario.
That makes sense, and that sucks because he's had a good camp, especially at the start. But hey, that's all what the business is about.
All right, special teams. We got Jake Camarda versus Nolan. No, I'm just kidding. The last one, Zach Triner versus Evan Deckers. Who you got?
It's tough. I'm going to go Triner, though. Just go with what you know. He's always been available. I mean, he played through the Earl outside of the pinky injury or the finger injury, whatever it was a few years ago. But he's a known product, and he plays well. So I'm going with Triner at the end of the day. Even though I got to shun my other brother, Evan.
I do like Evan Deckers. I think, he's a guy who played at Duke with Graham Barton. Younger, a little bit cheaper, not too much. It's a freaking long snapper. But the consistency of the room, I think, is right. Makes sense. And that's something you don't make that move if you don't have to. And I don't think at this point they have to. I think Triner's still serviceable. So that's it. That's our 53. Kind of not 53 because I don't know if we did 53. We might have done more.
I was trying to do the math in my head. I was like, wait, have I gone over?
I don't know. It was just kind of like what we're putting out. Evan's got an article out. I'm going to have mine out Saturday morning, first thing, 7 a.m. So you guys will be able to tear it apart or whatnot, or before those cuts start happening. But Evan, I want to thank you so much for hopping on here. That was a lot of fun. Thank you for everyone in the live. Richard, Bud, Big Hoss, Slim. I'm going to go through if I missed anybody. Mac, Joel. Thank you guys for all tuning in. Everybody else who's tuned in who didn't comment. Appreciate y'all. If you're watching on Twitter, hop over to YouTube for sure. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on. Evan, real quick, where can people find you and your work? What do you got going on?
Yeah, A2Zsports.com. You can find me on Twitter at Evan_ATOZ. And I mean, man, we're branching out in the college football this year. We're getting about the top 10, 12 blue bloods. And obviously we've got all 32 teams under our belt. So really big year. So be sure to check it out.
Absolutely. They're doing great stuff over there. You guys know where you can find me. Bucs Game Day. You guys can find me at Pirate Parlay. You guys can find me on X at JC Allen NFL. Bringing you all your Bucs stuff for Evan, for myself. Thanks, guys, again, for tuning into another edition of the Pirate Parlay podcast here on the Sick Podcast Network. I'm your host, JC Allen, signing out. Peace out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Pirate Parlay on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.